Hey, welcome everybody. This is Rick Janson with Rick Janson Luxury Properties in Denver, Colorado. And normally every Tuesday here, we host a coaching session, a live small group coaching session with one of my star agents, Luke Smith, down in Georgia. He's running a little bit late today, but we're going to get rocking and rolling anyway and add some tremendous value. Now, I want to add something that we're doing here that I'm just super pumped about. I mean, this is going to be so exciting. So something that we are doing here lately is that good morning, Luke. How you doing?
Hey, there we are. What's going on?
Just going to dive into one quick thing here. So one of the things we're doing over here at Rick Janson Coaching is we're launching something called Power Agent. Now, Power Agent AI, Gent, is all about artificial intelligence, keeping you up to date on the latest in artificial intelligence and how to actually apply that to your real estate business. So we've done book summaries of books related to artificial intelligence and how to apply that to your real estate business. We're also going to start releasing a daily newsletter where we take the top stories on AI because things are developing every single day. Hundreds of products are being developed every single month, and it might be a little bit overwhelming. Like, what should I pay attention to? How should I apply it to my real estate business? We're going to be releasing a newsletter that is going to detail everything coming up on AI, everything you need to be abreast of, and more importantly, how to actually apply that to your real estate business. So that is very exciting for Power Agent. We're going to drop a link below or put something in the comments for you to be able to sign up for that newsletter. But for today, for the next half hour, before movers show up to move my son's dressers, we've got Luke Smith down in Georgia. Luke, I'm loving your look today. It's awesome.
What is going on?
So with the look comes power, responsibility. Great looks, have great responsibility. So what do you got going on today? What have you been doing for the last week?
I can't even. Why Lopo, Rick? Why Lopo?
You've been all over it.
Went to a conference Wednesday, Thursday in Orlando, and I was sitting in a room. There's about 250 agents. There's about 25,000 people signed up. You went to the one in Las Vegas. Every single person in that room selling houses 10, 15 years, doing $200, $300, $400 million a year in production. One guy, Robert Slack, was there. They closed on $2.2 billion last year, and they gave it all away. Everything was on the screen. They gave us all the links. They opened up their own follow-up boss account and like, hey, this is what you do. And it was like pen and paper, take notes. And I met so many awesome people there. And I even had people say, hey, we've been in the business for 10 years. We did 300 million last year. I'm going to have my assistant reach out to you. We Loom videoed all of our stuff from top to bottom, every single task that every team member does, and created a Google Doc. We're going to get that to you later this week so you can build a foundation. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy what happens when you go meet like-minded individuals and build relationships.
Absolutely. Conferences are so key. Going to the right conference with the right attitude and putting yourself in the right position to meet the right people, right? It's not just going to a conference and being a conference junkie, but if you can get yourself to a conference once a quarter, start off with once a year, build yourself up to once every half year, every 6 months, that's much better. Thank you for boosting your seat.
There we go.
You can get yourself to a conference every 6 months. The next one I'm going to is in Orlando. It's the EXP shareholders. Guests that are not part of EXP are free. So if you want a ticket to that, please do let me know. Ed Milet's going to be talking about mindset. He is all the rage right now. We're going to have people like John Cheplak coaching down there. My personal favorite, my local hometown hero, Rico Leone, is going to be on stage with Elena Cardone talking about how to work with VIPs and celebrities. So that's going to be May 17th to 20th down in Orlando. Again, send me a text. My number's on the screen, 303-589-2320, about how to get to a conference and get like juicy nuggets like Luke just got. Isn't that amazing? Everything, Luke, everything we've done, everything we do, how to build a base. Didn't you say somebody had, sorry for the sirens up front there. Didn't you say somebody had like 700 deals currently pending?
Pending. And they had like 49 go under contract the same day that we were there.
49 going under contract in a day.
Yeah.
And they're going to give Luke everything that they do. So raise your hand, drop something in the comments if you'd like to get some of those juicy nuggets that Luke got in the conference, and we'll hook you up, because we're not about holding back. We're all about freely sharing what we know. And so if Luke gets it, if I get it, you get it. You heard it here first. I forgot that was just this last week, and you got the honor of being pulled up on stage.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about how that happened with Howard Tigert, the founder of CEO of YLOPO.
Yeah, I talked to Howard for a while after the first day, and we probably, had like a nice little 30-minute conversation. I told him my story. He told me his story about everything going on. And then I met Kiwi. Kiwi brought me up, and we talked one-on-one for about 30 minutes about Google, SEO, how to turn our YouTube videos, transcribe them into blog posts for our website, combine everything together, all that. Then I met the camera guy, and then they interviewed me. And then the next day I showed up, and I was talking to somebody who does a YouTube channel there. And then Kiwi's like pointing at me. He's like, "Hey, come here." I'm like, "Me?" He's like, "Come here." And then Howard's like, "Hey, by the way, we're pulling you on stage." I was like, "I'm here to learn." What? He's like, "Come on." I was like, "What in the world?" So that started off day 2, and that was awesome.
And what did they want you to share from stage?
Story of like how I got into real estate, what I'm currently doing, and just some of the YLOPO tools that you can push your business forward with follow-up.
Awesome. So folks, if you want to hear Luke's story, go back to episode 1 of this coaching channel. That was 2 weeks ago. And we are currently on episode 3. And because we want to provide massive value, that was April 25th, that episode. But because we want to provide massive value, Luke, let's dive into brass tacks. What are you wanting to conquer today? What hurdles are you facing? How can you grow your business this week?
Well, I feel like because I wasn't a part of YLOPO, I didn't have a good value proposition. My value proposition for the last year was an easy exit agreement. No long-term contracts, a flexible commission program, and all these other things that sound good. But then I started to think to myself, like, if I'm going to sell somebody's house or somebody's going to sell my house, and they say, "Oh, hey, by the way, if I, don't fulfill my obligations, you can fire me." I don't want to fire you. I want to hire the right person from the start that can sell my house. And now that I have this marketing plan done, by the way, if anybody needs any of that stuff, Robert Slack, $2.2 billion closed last year, gave me a link to his listing presentation, slide by slide, literally the whole thing. I sent it off to Fiverr, combined it with some other stuff. I'm going to have mine done today. If you want it, just let me know. I put probably a dozen hours into it, and it's beautiful. I'm going to brag. I would want to buy from me because of YLOPO and the marketing plan. So I guess if we can
send that to me too, by the way. I'd love to see that.
Yes. As soon as it's done, it should be done within the next 20 minutes.
Awesome.
Value proposition on the listing presentation. I feel like now I actually have what I need to get my foot in the door with every single person to be able to close. I guess I kind of want to update like my word tracks /objection/ like the presentation side of things. And I don't think there's a better person than Rick Janson when it comes to communication skills. So I guess what's your advice on the listing presentation of what to say or word tracks or objections to learn like how to overcome?
Sure. And there are tons of different ways to go about this, right? I was listening to an amazing presentation by Tina Call, Caul. She's on the luxury council at EXP. And I'll send you a link to her presentation. I recorded it. She was doing a presentation last Friday. She went through her listing presentation. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And one of the things that I learned from her, and folks, if you're wondering, like, why is a coach quoting another coach? It's because I'm constantly in learning mode, right? I've been doing this for 20 years, former attorney, MBA in marketing. I'm still learning every single day. And Tina outperforms me, so I'm going to learn from the best. So one of the things I thought was just so beautiful, she said, hey, when you're first getting started, write down your listing presentation and put it on a clipboard, right? So when you're taking notes, you can be actually looking at your bullet points and make sure that you're not forgetting anything, right? And a lot of it's going to be, I've modified that script and I'll send it to you and I'll post a link I'll send it to anybody who texts me at 303-589-2320. But a lot of it comes down to asking the right questions, right? It's about being curious. And then, positioning yourself as the expert. So it's got to be a combination of both. You can't just say, oh, you like football? I like football. You have high heels? I have high heels. You like hot dogs? I like hot dogs. Bonding with somebody is not going to sell a $2 million house, right? They want to know that you're the expert. They want to know that you're coming in with stats. They want to know, the absorption rate. They want to know months of inventory, average price per square foot, how things are moving, right? What the trends are going to be. So you need to the higher the price point, the more concerned they are with the numbers. So if you're selling the average home, you can probably get away with kind of an average listing presentation. But if you bring in your A game listing presentation, you're gonna stand out head and shoulders above everybody who's bringing in average, and you're gonna just dominate as the expert and leave with the listing signed, right?
Absolutely.
Because once you leave that listing presentation, your odds of getting that signed go down dramatically. So you can go from like signing 6 out of 10 to signing 9 out of 10 if you actually just sign them on the spot. And some of that just comes down to taking this thumb, putting it right on your spine, and saying, "Hey, is there any reason that you need to interview anybody else? Is there anything that I've not brought to the table?" I'm bringing the dynamic the Facebook dynamic marketing. I'm bringing in the this, the that, the this, the that, the this, the that. I'm going to track the analytics. I'm going to communicate with you every Monday and Thursday, whether I have something to say or not. I've got a communication plan because a lot of people really, really want to know, how are you going to communicate with them? I'm going to call you every Monday or Thursday before noon with the consistency that if I don't, please call the police because I'm missing, or call my wife because something is going wrong, right? Introduce a little humor. But I'm going to call you every Monday and Thursday. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, would that be okay with you? Constantly get their buy-in, right? Would that be okay with you? Yes. Would that be okay with you? Yes. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if I sent you analytics via email once a week on how all of our Google ads are performing, our Facebook ads are performing, our TikTok, Instagram, all that, if I sent you analytics once a week on how that's going and went into your email inbox, and you could just kind of look and see that our ads are performing, would that be okay with you? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if I broadcast your listing not only to everybody in Georgia, but everybody around the country, to all 50 states and around the world on every website. I mean, if someone went to Remax or Sotheby's or Compass, your home is going to be on their site. Would that be okay with you? Right? Because you could say I'm syndicating it to the MLS, but they don't know what that means.
Yep.
Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if they go to Zillow, they're going to find your home. If Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if they go to Realtor.com, if they go to Trulia, Redfin, name all the sites that they already serve, and then name your competitors' websites. If they go to Compass, if they go to Remax, anybody with a buyer at those offices is going to see your home with high quality photos, video tours, 3D models, floor plans, fully specced out, and with I'm going to tell a story about your house that you're going to share with me. If everybody in the world was easily able to find your house, and if I identified all of the potential buyers, the high intent buyers right up front for you, would that be okay with you?
Absolutely.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are you interviewing any other agents? Right? Oh yeah, we've got an interview lined up this afternoon. Is there anything you think that they might do that I'm not doing? Is there anything that I have not said that I'm going to do? Right? Or I've got to find the words. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet. Right? So I'm good at communicating, but I don't have any listing appointments at 8:45 in the morning. I do all my listing appointments in the afternoon for a reason, because I still have to wake up. But I've been awake for a long time, but my head's another thing. So anyway, the Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I've laid out everything we're going to do in our marketing plan. Do you agree that it's a very comprehensive marketing plan? Yes, we do. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's our communication plan. Do you agree that it's an effective and efficient and communication plan that's going to keep you well informed? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I've got video editors. I've got administrative assistants. You're working with a team, not just with me. So if I'm ever unavailable, you're going to be able to reach my team. Would that be okay with you? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if I've identified some areas of your home that, if we increase the value, if we invested just a little bit here, we could increase the value and you pocket even more money. And guess what? Because of the partners that I have, we can actually design and build and remodel this area of your home, and we'll take care of all the work, all the design, and front all the money, and you don't have to pay until closing. Would that be okay with you? If you made some extra money, and that's optional. You don't have to make any extra money, but if you wanted to, you could. Would it be okay with you if I helped you with those things? But if I've got a list of contractors that'll do inspections and lawn care and plumbing and all the honeydew items around the house and get your house buttoned up, I can get a couple people in there this week, one day each on this, that, and this. And if they kind of buttoned up your home and got you ready for the inspection before we went to list, would that be okay with you? Again, totally optional, but would that be okay with you? Right? And you're wanting to cover every single thing that they could possibly want. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, apart from price, is there anything else you want to discuss?
Yeah.
right? And then when you go for price, when you go to your branded website /tools, there are market reports in Ylopa that you can run that have hot sheets that show how properties are moving. You can show in your database, once it starts building, how many buyers are already a match for their property, right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, from all the people that I have in my database, all the potential buyers that are out there surfing, even before we go to market, I've already got 5 matches.
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to say all 5 are going to want to buy your house, but I know all 5 of those are looking for homes that match yours. So even before we go to market, I'm going to start talking, I'm going to be able to identify people that are, and so once we go to market, we're going to have even more. Right now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's the heat map. Here's what's selling. Here's how it's going, like the absorption, the months of inventory, blah, blah, blah. Here's the trends on this. Here is a range that is reasonable for your home. Would you agree that that's a reasonable range? Yeah. Now I know you're hoping to get, you're probably hoping to get the sun, the moon, and the stars. But if you were to walk in as a buyer into your home right now, knowing this is the range of your competition, if you were to walk into your home as a buyer, what do you think this home is worth? Always let them pick the price.
Okay.
You can give them a range. You can coach on the range. You can, before you go into that, say, hey, from my experience and from everybody that I know that's very, very successful in the industry and all the coaching that I've had, when you price high, the market punishes you. But when you price low, we can always push it up, because it's just basic supply and demands. The lower the price, the higher the demand. The higher the demand, the more social proof that your home is desirable and everybody wants it. We flood people into your home on the first weekend. We're going to drive that price up with the marketing I do and with the conversations that I have. We're going to drive that price up. And when we drive that price up, we're going to make sure that those buyers now are the buyers that are really eager to close, really eager to overlook inspection items, and really eager to win your home because they know how much everybody else wants it. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if I got a bidding war going on in your house, would that be okay with you? Yes. So if you want to price lower and get the bidding war as a buyer walking into this home, what feels like a good value? And then you just be silent and let them finish the conversation, right? And then if they go too high, you can say, "Oh man, that's going to be a price that would make my mouth water," right? Of course, that's a price we all want, right? Now, again, I've coached you I've shared with you that if we price high, we're going to sit on the market longer, and we might have to do some price reductions. So if we price at this point, every 10 showings or 2 weeks, I found we get an offer. So if we have 10 showings or we go 2 weeks, do you agree that we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about a price reduction of anywhere from 3 to 5%? Because apparently the market thought we're priced too high. And everybody knows days on market kills a listing. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when you bought this house, were you shopping for some others at that time? And Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when you were shopping for those homes, were you ever curious, and did you ever ask an agent how long the home had been on the market? Why did you ask that agent how long the home had been on the market?
You can get a better value. You have better
Exactly.
negotiation skills as a buyer. The leverage is now in your hands.
So you know that the longer a home sits, the more power a buyer has because you've already tried to use that strategy. So we do want to avoid days on market because it empowers buyers, and buyers get stronger, and buyers get hungry, and buyers want a deal, and buyers are going to take that deal out of your pocket. So our goal is to maximize your return on investment and drive that price up as high as possible. But we want to keep the days on market low because why? That keeps the power in your hands, not in the buyer's. And do you want to have the power, or do you want to give the power to the buyer?
Ooh, that one hurt me. Wow. That is phenomenal. I'm writing all that down. I'm going to go back through this call and listen to it and record it and then listen to it over and over again.
So what you do is you write it down, and I'm just kind of ripping some of this stuff too, based off of just, this is how I go into it,
and every situation is different. You need to feel the waters, and the conversation is always going to be different. Not one word track solves all, but having that to be able to pop out when you need it.
Yeah. So you write them down on your clipboard, right? And you make sure that I'm checking all the boxes, right? At some point, you want to make sure that you've hit these boxes. You don't have to do them in the row. You don't have to do them in my words. You don't have to, but you have to do them in a way that you make sure that you get through all of them, because there is sort of a sequence of closing somebody, right?
Absolutely.
And closing someone is merely getting somebody else to use their own argument to join you in your argument, right? Because you're wanting them to agree that what you're saying is what they think. So you need to get them to think what you're thinking. And you do that by asking questions.
Okay.
Because now the questions make that thought theirs and not yours. You can shove information down someone's throat and they're never going to agree with you. But if you guide them to agree with you by making them say it in their words, now they're in agreement with you. Now they're going to buy in with you. Now they see that you're the logical choice. You're like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I took the liberty of, presuming you're going to make a wise decision by hiring me. So I've already printed up the listing agreement. Can we go over that right now? And there are only 2 blanks in here we need to fill in. One is going to be the commission and one is going to be the price. Let's go through the rest of this contract, make sure that you're clear on everything else. And if everything else is clear, then we'll talk about commission and we'll talk about price.
Perfect. And to talk about commission, did Damon Grader talk in
No.
Nevada? He had a crazy listing presentation. He has like a pre-listing packet he sends over before, and then his listing presentation has his commissions on it. And there's 3 categories, like premier, like normal, and basic, or whatever you want to call it. But the premier is like a guaranteed your home will sell. Middle one is 59-day sale or no commission, and the other one has no guarantees. But he charges a marketing fee up front. So like, I think it's how I was thinking about doing it, because I don't even know how I would start. $0, and then like $4.95, and then $12.95, and I'd put all of that money into YLOPO marketing for the ads. And not only would that help me build my business like crazy, but it would completely push their house out. I don't know how I would do that, because I know it like kind of goes into commission and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you don't have to get complicated off the bat. There are a lot of ways you can structure a lot of things, right? Let's keep it basic for now, and then move to that. So one of the things that I thought was absolutely brilliant, no, we're not allowed to talk like commissions and set prices and stuff like that. But so I'm going to do this generically. Let me do this generically. Really good buddy of mine, David, sells gazillion homes up in Montana. And he writes down 3 numbers. So I'm going to keep it generic. He writes down 3 numbers. What he wants to make, +1, and then +2. And he says, here are your 3 options, circle 1. And the lowest one is the one he actually wants to make.
Yeah. And
they look at it and they go, is there any difference between these 3 and between the services you provide? And he just goes, nope.
Oh, and that's his paycheck?
So no, this is the commission. So he takes his lowest percentage, which is the one he actually wants to make, +1 and +2. So let's just say 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to be generic because nobody charges a 1% total listing commission. So I'm not going to be accused of price fixing. So 1%, 2%, 3%. He wants to make 1% total listing commission. That includes buyer's agent and everything else. So he wants to make 1. So he puts 1, 2, and 3, and he says, circle 1. And he's quiet. And he said they get so uncomfortable and awkward because they're like, well, 1% is kind of what the market charges. Why would I pay more? Right?
Yeah.
And they say, well, is there any difference between the service provided or any difference between the results? And he goes, nope.
Well, it makes sense to charge what he's asking.
And he's silent. And they said, so if they ever ask this, they say, so why should I pay more? He's like, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you don't have to. But, do you think that someone making a little more might work even that much harder to earn your loyalty and prove their worth?
Oh, yeah.
But you can feel free to charge anyone. You can feel free to circle any one of those, and I'll be okay with it. And he said they often circle the middle one just from the psychology of it.
Yeah.
Which is +1 over what he wants to make.
Yeah. So that's a good way to put it. I mean,
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And if they circle the lowest one,
he still wins.
He still wins. So
and it's no longer negotiating below what he wants. It's negotiating to what he wants.
it's negotiating from a position of strength, right?
Yep.
So then Mr. and Mrs. Seller, so that's one tactic for negotiating commission. Another one is saying, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is the percentage that my firm charges, not you. This is the commission that my firm charges for the listing side. Now, the only question we have is, what do you want to offer the buyer's agent?
That's what I'm going to have. I'm going to have 3%, 3%, 3% on the thing. And then below it's going to say buyer suggested. And I'll say the 3 on the bottom.
So I'm not going to say whether you should charge 3 or 2 or 5 or 4 or whatever you want to charge.
You just put like a question mark?
No. For your side, we can talk about your specific numbers offline because I don't want to put it in a video. But you're going to put your side, right? And then say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is what our firm charges for the comprehensive the Facebook dynamic retargeting, for the Google ads, for the photography, videos. Remember our value package, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, how comprehensive it is, and how much more you're getting with us in terms of exposure than you would from any other firm in town. You remember that, right? So this is what our firm charges for that. Now, the only question left is, what are we going to offer the buyer's agent? This is what a buyer's agent is kind of accustomed to making in our market. You can go a little bit lower, you can go market average, or you can go a little bit higher. Which would you like to choose for the buyer side? Okay, when we add those up, the total commission now, it looks like it's going to be 6.5 or 7% or whatever, right? 8%, 20%, whatever it's going to be. I'm not going to price fix here. But we can talk specific numbers offline in the private coaching session. But the bottom line is, you can actually, you can build that total commission up more than you normally would. Let's say you're normally used to making 3. Go in and say 4.
Mm-hmm.
Our side's 4. Do you want to offer the buyer's side, X, Y, or Z? And when you add X, Y, or Z to the 4 that you want to make, you might actually end up more than you thought you were. But you made it the buyer's agent side, not your side. So they're not fighting your commission. So you have to, one way to do it is just to talk about the total. The other way is to talk about, this is ours, and then divide out the buyer and say, what do you want to pay the buyer? Because at the end of the day, this is going to make a lot of people mad when they're watching this on replay, but I've only got 2 more minutes left. So, hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, you're there to feed who? You and Leah.
Yep.
Right? And the little Leahs and Lukes that come along the way someday. So you're here to feed them. You're not there to feed the market. If the market wants to make something different, the market can put that in their buyer's agency agreement and talk to the buyer about that.
Yeah.
So don't be bullied. Don't fall prey to what you see online. You take care.
I agree with you 100% because it blows my mind.
Yeah. So you take care of you. Take care of the buyer's agent because you want to make friends. You want to have people come back to you. Pay them a reasonable rate, but have the seller tell the market what that rate is, not you.
Yep.
You can coach the seller on a range and say, hey, here's a reasonable range. You can offer a buyer's agent 10%. I bet we'll get a lot of people through the door. But bottom line, if they don't have a buyer in their pocket, in their car, they're not going to come to the listing anyway.
Yep.
10% is not going to motivate them. So let's motivate the people that have a buyer in the car to take them to your house so that they know they're going to make a reasonable wage and so that they can feed their families. Because you agree the buyer's agent needs to feed their family, right, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Right. Mm-hmm. We don't want to be super cheap because then they're not supposed to, but they may avoid your house. So let's make sure that everybody's taken care of and you split it up that way.
Absolutely.
Let's cover a couple more things before the movers arrive, because again, they're doing heavy lifting that I used to do when I was your age and I can't do anymore.
I don't blame you at all. I guess it's kind of a big topic. Adina, she's on my downline here at EXP. Her and her husband, absolutely amazing. Been appraisers for 10 years each. Love working with investors. And we're talking about figuring a way to partner together. So my team and my admins will take care of all their non-income producing activities like lead generation, paperwork, and stuff like that. And they would start kind of like a branch of us up in their city, which is just north of Atlanta. That's a huge conversation to talk about, but we're supposed to get lunch this week. We weren't able to do it, but we're going to try to figure out how to coordinate the logistics of that.
That sounds awesome. I'd love to help you figure that one out.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's going to be huge. She's got so many connections. And she just needs to really, 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 even as like a brand new agent,
She's so intelligent and remarkable.
her highest and best use of time is absolutely working her sphere and definitely prospecting and getting out there. So the more you can take off her plate, the better. That's going to be a huge win for her and for you.
Absolutely. And then I guess at this point, I want to really make sure that anybody on here, if you need anything, I have all the slide decks I'm about to get, all the listing presentations. They gave us the links. All you have to do to change like your stuff is take it, send it to Fiverr, and then send it either to Rick or I, and we can look over it. And I'm even going to be posting my stuff and sending it over to Rick once I get it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Rip it off, duplicate it, make it better. Like we are so ego-central or being humans that we think we just know it all. The only information we know is somebody else's opinion or thought on something, and we just made it our own or changed it a little bit. The chances of us reinventing the wheel completely and revolutionizing things is really so small. So I have like 200 tasks from that YLOPO summit that I need to start implementing. So, oh man, Rick, thank you. And I'm telling Rick told me to go. I spent $230 on a ticket, and it gave me hundreds of thousands of dollars of income that I'm going to make in the future because of it. For spending $230 on a ticket, Rick. Go to events.
Yeah, so the only reason I love how you said that recently, just now, because the only reason we know 2 + 2 is 4 is because we went to school.
Exactly.
So the only reason we know what to say in a listing presentation, the only reason we know how to talk to a seller, the only reason we know how to prospect or follow up with somebody is because we went to school. We're just learning 2 + 2 = 4. We don't have to figure out how it does it. We just have to have someone tell it and then share it with the world and put it back. So if you want to see how I'm selling homes, go to howricksells.com, howricksells.com. Text us at 303-589-2320. Text Luke at 478-302-6040. Until next time, everybody, have a great one.
Well, you enjoy the moving company, Rick. I always appreciate your time. So much value.
Absolutely. Text me anytime this week and I'll call you right back.
Yes, sir. We'll see you.
All right. Bye.